Alright, in this video we're going to talk about another special parallelogram. We're talking about squares. So let's take a look at these squares on the left here. Notice that they've got all sides congruent. So we've got all the sides congruent. We also have all the angles congruent. Okay, and we've got that both pair of opposite sides are parallel. So this is equilateral, and it's also equiangular. So let's go ahead to a definition. There's a couple different ways we can describe a square. So a square can be described as one, an equilateral rectangle. So if we take our rectangle and make it so that all the sides are congruent, equilateral, then it's going to be a square. Or we can describe it as an equiangular rhombus. So if we take the angles of a rhombus and make them all equal, then we're going to get a square. Or we can call it a regular, remember regular means both equilateral and equiangular, a regular quadrilateral. So a four-sided figure quadrilateral that has all sides congruent and all angles congruent. Alright, so when we have a square, we're going to get some interesting properties here. Now, notice that these pictures are clearly not squares, but we are going to mark them like they are squares, so keep that in mind. So the angles of a square are right angles. Alright, so we know they're all going to be congruent because they're all 90 degrees. And then let's draw on the diagonals. Again, this is going to be a little bit confusing just because we're doing this on a rectangular shape, but we're making it into a square. So since it's a square, I know that all the sides are going to be congruent, and I know that all these angles are going to be congruent, and we know that the diagonals are going to bisect each other, okay, because that's a property of a parallelogram, so it's a property of a square. So the diagonals of a square are congruent. Now, we only had one other quadrilateral where the diagonals were congruent, one other special parallelogram, and that was a rectangle. So the diagonals of a square are also going to be congruent. And they are also perpendicular. So these are all going to be right angles. Again, we're drawing this in a rectangle, but we want it to be a square, so we're going to give it those properties. And they also bisect each other. Alright, so those are our additional properties that a square has. Again, the better you know your properties, the more successful you're going to be in this unit. So make sure you ask questions, and we'll see you next time.